Thank you guys so much for your patience. I appreciate it. Thank you both for joining us here today. I'm going to just go through a couple quick things and then we'll kick things off here. As I said, we're live on Facebook right now, and this is being recorded to be shared after the fact as well. So quick introduction. My name is Zach Trowbridge. I'm the Vice President of the Hagenwood Community Association, and I'm here with my president, Kathy Anutsik, who's been on the board of the Hagenwood Community Association for quite a while. We're joined by our current incumbent city council representative, Alan Warren. Thank you for joining us, Alan. And
happy to be here.
His challenger for the November election, Sean Loloee. Thank you, Sean.
Pleasure to be here.
We're going to give them both about 10 to 15 minutes to introduce themselves. But before that, I want to just cover really quickly some basic expectations we have during this wedding. Oh boy, during this debate.
It's a divorce, not a wedding. It's a divorce.
A wedding? Hold on a second.
It's a joining of ideas, and yeah. Anyway, okay. So
for the betterment of the community. That's what it is. That's what we're all
sharing the love.
Sharing information and talking about it to see how we can improve our community. I think
exactly.
It is a wedding because I'm pretty sure at the end of the day, Alan and I, we have the best interests of the community. It just might be on different platforms. So
I agree. So just a couple of quick things I want to cover before we jump in is, especially after the debate that we all saw a few days ago, I spoke with Alan and Sean both and just said, I think that we all have a really amazing opportunity to represent the city of Sacramento and show, how two people who are passionate about our community and our community, changing for the better in different ways, how we can represent that, we're civil adults that can have a disagreement or can, discuss conflicting ideas and all grow because of it and maintain a level of respect for each other and, for our residents watching. So
and decorum, absolutely.
Decorum, yeah. Thank you for saying that. So it is in that spirit that we are, bringing together Alan Warren and Sean Loloee, who are both running for our District 2 City Council representative seat. Our framework for this debate is totally virtual, obviously, but the way the discussion is going to work is we're going to give each candidate 3 minutes to talk about the issue that's raised, about their platform and the way that they address that issue. They are free to, talk about differences that they have with the other candidate if they like, as long as that conversation obviously remains respectful. And then there will be, after each candidate has had their 3 minutes to speak about, their perspective on the issue, we're going to give it 3 minutes of open discussion between the two candidates to be able to, have a conversation about how they disagree and, potentially, have some kind of debate there. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to Alan Warren, who will be giving his first 10-minute introduction to just discuss, his platform, his background for people who don't know and maybe new residents to the area. And then we'll pass it over to Sean after that. During each of these, I'll have a timer running on my side. Because I don't want to share a screen and block out your guys' faces, you won't be able to see it. But I will just really easily and very high-tech way show a yellow card when you have and then in another very high-tech way show a red card when your 3 minutes has expired. So I will give you a 1-minute warning for your 10-minute introduction with the same style. So Alan, if you want to go ahead and take it over there.
Very good. Well, thank you and good afternoon to Zach, you and Kathy and Sean. And I'll start off by saying that, I really don't know Sean, so I don't really intend to speak really about Sean, but I will address any questions, concerns, or misinformation that may be presented or has been presented previously. So, I'm one of the most civil, respectful, and focused problem solvers, I think, and I think it does us all well to focus on the real issues that impact people's daily lives. And so with that, second, I'd just like to say that last night was a very tough night for our community. there was several shootings. One young lady passed away. And so I had mentioned earlier about the schedule for me today. But I just want to just say, send my condolences to the Brent family and the Cunningham family, both who had family members involved in the shooting last night. And the Brent family lost one of their precious young lives for that family. And so it's with a little bit of a heavy heart that I'm here right now. But let me just say that as a 56-year-old man who has traveled the world, been in a lot of places, I spent all the formative years of my life in this community. I'm a 1982 graduate of Grant High School, 1979 graduate of Del Paso Junior High School, and what used to be called McClellan Elementary School is now called Castoria. I'm also a graduate of that elementary school. I'm from a family of 8. I have 7 sisters. I'm next to the youngest. So I have 1 younger sister, 6 older sisters. First in my family to graduate from college. And but prior to graduating from college, I had a chance to sign with the New York Yankees and go out and play minor league baseball, which is the aspiration of a lot of young people in our community, to have a chance to really extend their sports life. This community has produced a lot of very talented athletes and people with high standards for academics as well. But what you tend to hear more about is about the athletic prowess of the people from our community. So I attempted to play professional baseball and had several major injuries, some of which started in Grant High School. So I realized that education was going to have to play a more substantial role in my life. So I went back to school. I had not graduated prior to signing with the Yankees. I went back to school, graduated, with every intention on going back out to play professional baseball. However, I was hired by a Wall Street company. They sent me to Wall Street to an executive training program where I spent approximately 2 years and had a substantial living both in the Bay Area and in New York. I decided to come back to Sacramento because I felt like there were things that I could contribute to my community. And so came back to Sacramento and started a real estate development company where we've been very active in building not just homes, which we're primarily known for. We've built over 500 houses in District 2, including more recently a project off of Bell and Dry Creek, and then another one off of El Camino across from the Wiener Schnitzel there. My company built those homes as well. But we also donated and built the Sacramento Urban League. We donated the land for the Urban League, and we built the building there. Throughout our years, we've hired lots of people from the community, trained people, helped people establish businesses, and just been very, very active in our community. 9 years ago, and in fact, it had happened much earlier, where people had started asking me to consider public office. But 9 years ago, I was approached by a group of people, and I decided to really get more in the trenches, if you will, and not just as a business person, but really have to get into the nitty-gritty of really what was taking place in the community that had been neglected for years. And so there were 8 people in my first election. I was victorious out of the 8. And then subsequent to that, I was reelected approximately 4 years ago in a field of, I believe, 3 or 4 people. And so here we are again, in another election. And I just want to commend Sean for putting his name in the hat, because I think anybody that subjects themselves to this process deserves a degree of respect, because it is a very, in my experience, it has been very liberating to have people attack you, to have people pat you on the back, but ultimately to see things get done. And so we've had a long history of things that we've got done. We may and probably have not done as good a job as touting what we've got done, but I really leave that to others. You know, I like to be problem and solution focused, and I would prefer not to have attention brought to me for the things that we do, because there's so much to do. And as I have committed my life to a marathon of helping, you know, not a sprint. So I'm not trying to sprint from one location to the next. This has been part of my life. In fact, it was my father's was a great example, and my mother for me in this community, and who first came here in like 1960 to Sacramento. And so, you know, we've been very focused at trying to do what we can to help, either in public or in private, as a private citizen or as an elected official. I had no intention of being a public official. And in fact, I say now, even I'm a reluctant public official. But, you know, duty called, and, you know, and I stepped up, and here I am. And so I've been involved in some of the biggest projects in the city of Sacramento, very proud of their success. And I've been involved in a lot of really small projects in Sacramento, but they have been equally gratifying. And so with that, I say it's very important that the next leader of this district is focused on really continuing to improve the district in ways and in areas of need, like something Mr. Loloee is knowledgeable about, and that's grocery stores. We are still deficient in our district, and I'm proud to say I've played a role in 3 grocery stores being opened in our district since I've been in office, with a 4th soon coming. And so medical facilities, which we lack in our community, and we have one that will be opening next month, in fact, a brand new medical facility. And so, I mean, there are a number of things that we need to continue to improve, and I'm looking forward to the next 4 years to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan, for your overview. I appreciate it. I'm going to reset my timer here and then go ahead and pass it over to Sean for 10 minutes.
How did I do on time, Zach? Did I make it?
You were
I
under.
didn't see the yellow card come up, so I must have did okay.
You were under. And it's, you know, to be fair to everyone, just so for the people watching and for both of you too, it sounds like some people are having difficulty finding the live stream. I can see that there's, you know, more than 45 people watching, but some people are having a tough time with it. So I'm sure that we'll have a lot more people joining us soon. But
just to let you know, Zach, I'm getting multiple texts saying that wondering about the live stream. So I'm glad you made that statement. That
yeah,
some issue, but it's definitely live.
Sean, you should tell them to go to my campaign website. They can visit. They can see it there.
Actually, what I told them is we're taping this, so I can send it to them too. So it's all good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very good.
So I'm letting everyone know.
To kind of piggyback on what Alan said, considering he's considered a professional politician, I would like to request any times that he has not exceeded, has extra time, be pushed on my allowable time, considering I'm not at his level of politics yet.
So I'm
sure you are.
review.
Sure you are. Wait a minute. That's not fair.
One of the rules that we have.
Just play by the rules. That's all.
guys
I do. Play by the rules. That's it.
Any time that if someone goes over their time quite a bit, I will allow that time for the other candidate at the end. You know, none of us want to see a repeat of Tuesday.
He said under.
I said
if I go under, he wants my under time.
I missed that.
He doesn't get my time. No.
I'm debating with a true politician, so obviously he knows what to say. I have to say it beautifully and sugarcoat it while I'm still trying to navigate. But
in the interest of time, let's go ahead and kick off your 10 minutes, Sean, to introduce.
Got it. First of all, thank you very much, Zach and Kathy and the Hagenwood Association for creating this platform and allowing Alan and I have an open discussion. But I do want to start with the fact that the event that took place yesterday, that we lost one of our own, someone that at age of 9, who simply was at a park trying to get some fresh air and play. And unfortunately, that individual is not going to be present this Monday under social distance learning. So it's my sincerest condolences to both families. I did go to the site last night, and it was very moving. Regardless of where this debate goes and where the election goes, I think Alan and I will probably agree on one thing today, that we have to do everything to make sure our youth is protected, our parks are safe, and our communities are safe for the residents that reside in them. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I think from this debate, this statement that I've made is, I can say with confidence that this is the one thing that from this debate, probably Alan and I both agree on what needs to take place. So again, I just wanted to put that out there. My name is Sean Loloee. I came to United States approximately a little bit towards the early 90s with my family. I went to school here. I put myself through college as an immigrant, went through some obstacles, but was able to work hard at it and try to accomplish as much as I can. I started getting into the world of business right after college, where I opened up my first store in city of Los Angeles. We were able to expand that operation to 9 locations, which was sold. And at that time, I received a call from then Mayor Jerry Brown, who was a mayor at the city of Oakland. I received a call saying that your name was recommended by 2 major wholesalers as an individual that has gone to environments that are lacking supermarkets or food deserts, and you've been able to open up a store where the community can be very proud. He invited me to go to Oakland and visit with him, which I did, and I agreed to open a store in an area better known as West Oakland, a phenomenal community, wonderful residents, and we opened a store without any subsidy or any help from the city or the county. It was open under the bracket of Gateway Foods, which was named as one of the most beautiful stores in the Bay Area and very competitive as far as pricing. Very involved with the community over there. We sold that location, and I received a call from some of the developers and county city officials from Sacramento if we will come to Sacramento and open up a few stores. Very proud to say that our first store opened on Norwood Avenue in an area better known as Robla. It's a full supermarket providing fresh produce, fresh meat, 100% natural poultry, fresh service deli, fresh bakery. So pretty much anything that you find at a Raley's or Safeway, we're able to provide for our community. And but we make sure that we try to keep our pricing as competitive as possible. We opened our second store in Del Paso Heights, which again, neither one of them had any support or any subsidies from the city. In fact, our second store was met with some challenges from my opponent's office from opening it. But being as stubborn and hard-headed that I am, and I knew what the community wanted, we stayed true to what we wanted to do for the community, and we opened that store as well. I'm very proud to say that in the years that we've opened, we've had over probably 300 to 400 associates that have been part of our operation. Some of them have gone to bigger and better things. Currently, we have about 100 associates that probably 95% of them reside in 95838 zip code. Yep, about 95%. Almost all of our managers are initial associates who've become today our managers. I'm also very delighted and very proud to say that 80 to 85% of our managers are females that have really come up the ladder and have taken charge and running the operation. On top of that, we, right when I decided to run for this office, we decided that when I do get elected, that we're gonna make our stores employee-owned, start with the management team and work on going down to the rest of our associates. From the day that we started, I fell in love with this community. It's a phenomenal district, especially Robla and Del Paso Heights, Hagenwood. You know, District 2 is a very large district, and it's the most diverse district in our city. And we've tried everything to be part of the community and help as much as possible. I'm very proud and honored to say that from day one, we worked with Miss Mary Watts in TLC Soup Kitchen to help her to provide food to the needy. I'm very proud and honored to say that we also worked with Sister Pat Rivers with his Glory Church on many projects, again, to help the needy. So we've always tried to be involved with our community. Just this past summer, due to COVID-19, I realized that our school districts only provide lunch from Monday to Thursday. We decided that we have to step in and cover the gap between Fridays and Saturdays. So we actually invited the students between Twin River and Robla school districts as our guests to join us for lunch. We started this program in July, and I'm very proud of our team that we've been able to serve approximately 10,000 guests since that time to present. And since the school have opened, we've continued our program on Saturdays to move forward. I decided to run for this seat simply because I was very frustrated due to the lack of communication between City Hall and my opponent with the district and representatives. In the last probably 6 to 7 years, City of Sacramento has been thriving, businesses have been booming, but we've seen District 2 kind of falling behind and not at the same level as the rest of the city. We have lost jobs. We need businesses to create more jobs. We need to make our district more inviting for new businesses. We need to make sure we have healthier communities. As my opponent just indicated, he's been involved, and I give credit where credit is due, to provide programs for students and the athletes of our community. However, we all know that that percentage is extremely small, and unfortunately, we do not have programs for the other 90% of the students that reside in our community. We need, much of our infrastructure is obsolete. Our roads, our water, our sewer lines are again obsolete. We lack bike lanes. We lack basic sidewalks, and of course, affordable and market rate housing. And these are some of the issues off the top of my list that made me decide to run, simply because I think I can use my background in business, negotiating with different entities, and making the community more inviting for people to come and invest in retail. When you invest in retail like myself, you're invested in the community and you're embedded in the community. Unlike a developer where they build their houses and they're gone, we're here to stay long-term. So what happens in the community on a daily basis affects us. And that's why I'm here, and I hope that I can ask for people's support, and it'd be an honor to represent District 2 come November. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that overview.
Zach, I'd like I have to be able to clear up some of these lies and misconceptions.
I would be happy for you to respond to him. I'm going to run our first question, and then you can use your time however you want to respond to my question and respond to him if you want to.
Sure.
But I know
Okay, go ahead.
for respect
That's fine. Go ahead.
your
Yeah,
time.
go ahead.
Okay,
Yeah, go
so
ahead.
before that, I want to just remind our viewers that anyone watching can comment additional questions you have on the Facebook Live. If there's time at the end of this, I will review those questions and possibly be able to answer some of them. And then secondly, I want to remind everyone, which we'll talk more about later, but how important it is to vote in this election for a city council representative. In the last election in March, Alan Warren received 3,200 votes. Sean received 2,100 votes. There were 1,000 people who voted who did not choose either Sean or Alan, people who were already in the polls who didn't vote for a city council representative. So our purpose here today is to highlight these two individuals so that voters who are voting, not only more people are going to vote, but choose a city council representative so that voices are heard. So I just want to highlight that a little bit, how important every single vote is. 5,000 votes total in March for these two gentlemen, how important every single one vote is, for a city council representative. So our first measure that I want to talk about, and then again, you guys feel free to use your time however you like. We're going to go straight to ballot measures and propositions that are on the ballot this November, which I think is important to highlight differences, for these. So the first one is Prop 17. And I want to just hear from both of you. Do you support this ballot item? Why or why not? Prop 17 restores the right to vote after completion of prison terms for convicted felons. So it's a legislative constitutional amendment, Prop 17. And this is going to go to Sean first because Alan got to speak first at the beginning. Sean, do you support Prop 17? Your 3 minutes starting.
Sure. So the Prop 17 is allowing parolees the right to vote. Typically in our system, the parolees are usually individuals that have committed a very heinous crime, such as rape, child molestation, murder. And being a parolee is just an extension of your sentencing. Individuals that have been, stealing a car, drug dealing, they're usually confined within the county prisons, which they have the right to vote. But I believe that as a parolee, it's an extension of your sentencing. And because it's been a very horrible crime that's been committed, you should not have the right as the other citizens. It's, and that's where I stand, because I don't believe somebody that has been a rapist or a child molester, like we just 2 years ago, one was transferred to Del Paso Heights from San Jose and is residing in Del Paso Heights. I don't believe that that person should have the right to vote. And that's a strong no on Prop 17 for me, for that reason.
Great, thank you. Alan, your response, Prop 17?
Yeah, how much time do I have?
You have 3 minutes starting now, and then we'll have 3
Okay,
minutes.
very good. So I do believe that parolees should have a right to vote. And I think you're seeing that sweep across the country as well. You're going to see this type of legislation pop up in various jurisdictions throughout the United States of America. And my belief is once you pay your debt to society, you've earned the right. And so you go to prison, you come out, you earn your right to vote. But it's subject to the voters' will. It's going to take place. But let me just clear up a few things, misconceptions and outright distortions. Mr. Loloee said that his store is going to be employee-owned. Well, what's stopping him from doing it now? Or for the other 25 years that he's been in business, Southern California, the Bay Area, none of them were employee-owned. And, one of the things that happens is that once you subject yourself to the public process and other people find out about it, they call and they volunteer information. So a very dear friend of mine who Mr. Loloee knows is Shireen Sandage from the Bay Area. And I was able to get information from her, not only about why you left the Bay Area, but also that you did get subsidy. And you just said you didn't get subsidy, but you got subsidy. So also, and there's documentation for it too. So these are not just statements that I'm making. The other part of it, and I have no intention to smear you or any of that. So the information can be provided if it's necessary. But the other part of it is that, I mean, you made a statement that my office was somehow detrimental or trying to stop you from coming into Norwood Avenue. I encourage you to buy the entire shopping center, which you have not been able to do for whatever reason, so that we could support a brand new shopping center that was anchored by a new and improved Viva, not currently the one that's there, but new and improved. And there was another grocer looking at that store, but when you came up and said you wanted it, I helped clear the path for you because you were already in the district. So you can smile, you can make statements, but they're unfactual. And I think you do yourself a disservice when you say things that are just not true. So, but back to Proposition 17. Oh, one other thing, the area where your first story is, that's where my wife grew up at. And that area is effectively Westgate. It's an extension, parts of Robla, but it's the Westgate community. And so that's where my wife grew up, in that neighborhood. So I'm very familiar with that area as well. And I think that there's a lot of things that maybe you think you know, or you got bits and pieces of information, but there's a lot more to it. So I would just suggest that when we make these statements, they're very easy to validate. Your statements will be easy to validate. My statements will be easy to validate. And so, and I'm committed to providing the truth. So
that concludes the 3 minutes of your uninterrupted time, Alan. But I think there's two debates going on here. One is the Prop 17 disagreement, which I'd like to hear some more about. And then the other is this personal, business, that. So
I think we were both clear on 17. He's no, and I'm yes.
So I'd love to hear any disagreement you have about that, and not just know.
Well, I mean, it's a personal opinion. I don't have any issue with him that he's not for it. I'm for it because people in this community that I was raised with, I've seen them go into the institution and come out and be productive citizens, and they should have a right to vote. And that's my belief, and I think that is the democratic core tenet. It's going to be spoken about in this election throughout this community and others, and we'll see, but that's my belief.
Sean, your response?
So two things. One, I appreciate your information. I am very familiar with Shireen Sandig.
I know you are.
And she was actually very involved with that project. So as far as any subsidies that were given directly to me, by all means, if you can send me a copy of that, I would love to see it. On your
said she would call you directly, and
yeah, if you can even if she can call me, number one, I would love to talk to her. It's been a while. I miss her. So
well, just so you know,
hold on one second, please. You talked and I listened, so I appreciate the same courtesy. I have direct emails from your office to mutual.
Provide them.
Yes, I think Zach, you have those. Hold on one second.
Them.
You spoke, I listened. So let's
just provide them. If
sure.
You have them, provide them.
I think Zach has some of those documents that came from your office. And in fact, the email from Richard Dana from Mutual Assistance saying that he is not comfortable from your direction of stopping the progress.
No, from me, not what anybody else says, from me. Anything from me or my office.
If Richard Dana in his email is saying that the advice from you is not comfortable going from it, that means it's coming from you.
Don't buy that. Don't buy that. Here it coming from me. I speak for me. I speak for me.
Yeah, but
Richard Dana doesn't speak for me.
I don't know if Richard Dana is directly part of your office, Alan. And
he is not part of my office. And I did never has been.
From
Zach, with all due respect, and with all due respect to Alan as well, if we're going to continue this, we're going to hit certain areas that we disagree on. And out of respect, I think it's only appropriate, just the same way that Alan explained his side and try to call me out, it would be respectful for him to stay quiet while I explain myself. When
I will do that under one condition, that I can respond to lies.
Sure. And I want to.
If I can respond to lies, I'll do that.
Absolutely. But when an email is coming from your office setting up the meeting, has your office email address on it?
Sean, provide it. Just provide it. Okay.
Can you hold those papers up?
And maybe there's some other emails that came after and before.
Do you have?
Just provide it. You don't have to do it now. You don't have to do it now. Just provide it.
You have all these
interest of our viewers, and I'm hearing this on multiple comments right now. There's lots of talk about providing evidence of different points of view, right? So let's take a follow-up item from both of your offices to be able to provide that evidence.
The document.
The question doesn't sound like the question here is
that has nothing to do with me.
Does that
just provide it? Just provide it. Just provide it.
And then
just provide it. That's from Richard Dana. It's not me or my office.
This is the document from your office. This is the response of Richard Dana. This is who the
Sean, I tell you what, why don't you do is provide them to Zach, and then let Zach disseminate all the information, and we'll pull our records and we'll do the same. Okay?
And guys,
why don't we just do that? Okay, anytime there's a disagreement, you provide your records, we'll provide ours, and we'll let Zach.
But also to add that, Alan, number one, Zach has all the documents, and I'll be more than happy to put these documents on my Facebook so you can see it. But also, again, I myself got a direct call from, at that time, your chief of staff, Mr.
I've never had a chief of staff, so do not put words on my
Who's Daniel
office.
Savala? What was his position?
He was a field representative.
I received a call
he
from
was never a chief
representative of your office when we got that location. And his first comment to me was, who are you and what are you doing there? And my response to him was, we're opening a store. And his immediate response was, it didn't go through our office. And we didn't authorize it.
I'm gonna put a stop to this because
these are facts, Alan.
This is ridiculous.
You want to dance around it? You can.
The buck stops with
stop. Please stop.
That's ridiculous.
Right? We have disagreements about this, and you both see. Let's stop this discussion. Let's put this to bed for a minute. Move on to our next item that voters want to know more information about. I think both of you can provide supporting evidence to this and support your arguments, and that's great. But this is not the highlight of this debate. The highlight of this debate is issues
that's the best way to handle it.
So I look forward to
future
discussions about that. Moving on to our second question, where Alan will answer first. Proposition 18 amends the Constitution to permit 17-year-olds to vote in primary and special elections if they will turn 18 by the next general election and be otherwise eligible to vote. Alan first, 3 minutes, and then Sean, 3 minutes. Do you support this ballot item? Why or why not?
Yes, I do, and I won't need 3 minutes, but I do support it. I believe it's important to have our young people start to engage in the political process as soon as possible. It is extremely important now, given all of the things that impact not just our lives, but also their lives. And with the advent of social media, information disseminates very quickly now. So things that would have taken much longer for people to get up to speed on, they can gather that information quickly. So I'm a supporter in young people being able to engage in the process as long as they are of age by election day, therefore allowing them to participate in the primary and the general election.
Awesome. Great answer. Appreciate it. Sean, I'm going to open up your 3-minute response on Proposition 17 or 18.
A 17-year-old is still considered a minor. A typical 17-year-old still is residing in the same household as the parents. And I don't believe that a 17-year-old should be voting. We have a system. It's an 18 and up. And a 17-year-old, especially with the social media these days that are so effective, whether it's truth or lies, that gets the younger generation very amped up. I am not in favor of a 17-year-old being able to vote during the primaries.
Okay, appreciate the answer. You guys want to do a 3-minute discussion about
There's
this?
no need.
Well, again, I'm going to go back
Yeah.
since I have my time. I like to utilize it. Alan, again, as an individual, I respect you. As a politician, we have, different ideas. But make one thing clear: anything that I speak of, I will never ever fabricate or lie just for an extra vote.
Well, you did it with your
The
employees.
meeting that I'm discussing about, you've had this list of people that attended that meeting. So I'd be more than happy to get a declaration from each one, and I will post it on my Facebook page about you organizing that meeting, and you're saying to them that
Sean, just provide. We've already agreed to provide the information. We don't even have to talk about it.
But
just
again, I
provide
just
the
want to make
information
sure
to Zach, and
we
I'll
stay
do the
on
same.
track and truth, and not just try to
Just
create
provide the information. We don't have to talk about it. Let's talk about the questions for the debate. Let's talk about the questions for the debate, and then you can provide whatever you want to Zach, and I'll do the same, and let that be the answer. Okay? Let's not waste any more time going back and forth.
I'm just using my time. That's a big difference.
Well, we're behind schedule.
I haven't seen the
We
red.
are behind schedule.
No. But as long as I don't see the red card, we can have.
I thought we just agreed we're going to provide the information.
I-
Didn't we agree? Didn't we agree that we're going to provide the information? So why we got to keep talking about it?
I appreciate, Sean, that you have your time and you can use your time the way that you want. But I hope that we can agree that we're not going to come to an agreement on this meeting about this issue, right? And this is going to come down to two different perspectives about something that need evidence behind it for voters to be able to decide what they think is true.
There you go.
Right? So
there you go.
I would also like to move on from this issue. And I'm sorry that, I understand that you feel passionate about this because you lived through this and this is something that, affects you so much. I would just like to.
Sure, a project that was supposed to take 3 months took 8 months because of his office.
So I'm gonna jump on.
No, because of my office, you got a chance to open.
Impossible.
Guys.
Because of my office, you got a chance to open.
Not. Your office had nothing to do with it.
Listen, I had no issues with Viva. I want grocery stores in the area. If you could have did 5 of them, I would have supported it. As long as they were quality grocery stores, I would have supported it. So we don't need, I ran on grocery stores, Sean. I ran on expanding local grocers and bringing in.
Don't run on the fact that you were at school.
I didn't even know you.
To bring
I
in
didn't know you then. I don't know you now.
That was my
I have no issues with
everything that I did.
Just run your business the way it's
had
supposed
nothing
to
to do with.
Guys, I'm done with
when you say you
Go
brought
ahead,
in 3
This is-
supermarkets, it's an
Go ahead,
absolute
Zach.
This
lie.
is a red
Okay.
problem for both of you that we are not going to discuss this issue anymore. I understand there's a disagreement, but this is getting out of hand, okay? Like I said,
Yeah,
the rules that you both agreed to at the beginning of all of this, we're going to maintain decorum, civility, respect for each other during this debate for our uninterrupted time that each of us has. Sean, I appreciate that this is a highlight issue for you. I would really appreciate it if you could do me the service of setting this aside for now and letting us focus on these major questions, right? Because this is not going to be for the voters. All of this is just
Let the voters decide when the documents is passed out.
fantastic. Okay,
Thank
let's
you.
move on.
And I pledge to abide. I
Expands
pledge to
local
abide.
government's authority to enact rent control on residential property. Proposition 21 expands local government's authority to enact rent control on a residential property. Sean, you're going to be answering first. 3 minutes of uninterrupted time, please. Do you support this ballot item? Why or why not?
So Prop 21, again, I'm a no on that because already our government with our governor has set a tone of what the maximum rent increase can be. And I think anytime that you create a separate agency within the government to control something, it's just a recipe for disaster. And it will actually discourage private sectors to come in and invest and bring more affordable housing. Today, it's getting tougher and tougher. And affordable housing has to go through probably 5 to 6 different venues to be able to get the funding they need, whereas a private sector might go into 1 or 2. So to create a committee by the government and have the hands of government into this, I'm a no on that.
Sorry. Of course, I would do the while muted issue while I'm on this. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate your answer. Alan, 3 minutes, same question.
Well, I think here's an issue where Sean and I may have more similarities. You know, I do not believe that this proposition would spur investment in the housing, which is really what we need. We need investment in the housing, and as a lot of people know, I've spent basically my business career in developing market rate and affordable housing. So I do not see this as being the right way to deal with our affordable housing issue. And what is likely to happen if local cities start to take on this responsibility, what you do is you start to pit one city against another. So where the barriers are high for investment, and because you have rent control, then the adjoining cities that don't will attract the dollars. And so we would effectively put Sacramento at a disadvantage. So I'm not a supporter, because you don't have Roseville and Elk Grove and all these other cities that would be potentially more attractive for investment when we need housing throughout the region, but specifically in Sacramento.
Wonderful. Thank you for your
We
answer.
do agree on some stuff, Zach.
I'm shocked. Just kidding. Okay, I'm gonna skip our debate on this because we both agree on it, and I'm gonna move on to Proposition 22, which exempts app-based transportation and delivery companies from providing employee benefits to certain drivers. This is a really hot button issue, especially, here close to the Bay Area, where, app-based transportation and delivery companies are so massive in this area. And this is going to go to Alan first, again, just alternating back and forth. Do you support Proposition 22? Why or why not?
No, I don't. I think right now, what my focus is really trying to help minimize the expense to the consumer. And I think more regulation creates more expense for the owner, which ultimately will go back to the consumer. And so, I've spent time, I have a daughter going to college in New York, another son in college on the East Coast. I've traveled in a lot of places, and I've been the benefactor of things like Lyft and Uber and even taxi cabs. And you can notice there's a differential when there's an additional layer of governance, additional fees that have to be paid. And also, as it impacts the consumer, less opportunities, and the efficiency we create. And I think we keep right now a competitive nature by not having this additional governance, if you will, of app-based transportation. And it's very convenient right now. I think it's been a national phenomenon. At some point that might change, but right now I don't think it's the time to do it.
Thank you for your answer. Sean, your answer to Proposition 22 exempts app-based transportation and delivery companies from providing employees benefits to certain drivers.
Yeah, I again, kind of agree with my opponent. I'm a no on this, simply because, when you look at Uber or Lyft, there are individuals that utilize these services as supplemental income, as a part-time. They become their own boss, and they can kind of navigate how they want to, when they want to work, how they want to work. You look at our district, especially in areas that there's tremendous high level of unemployment. Some of our residents are utilizing these services as just, some extra income for themselves. And when you have such competition, it creates a lower cost for the end user, which would be us. We know that Uber and Lyft, or these delivery services, have been very helpful, especially during the COVID-19. So I'm a no on Prop 22.
And Zach, I'd just like to add too, in Sacramento, we also have, ride share with bikes, scooters, and also cars. And so this could also start to filter into, areas more substantially. Right now, we have access to multiple means of very efficient, low-cost transportation throughout the city, including in District 2, where they are available. So
I appreciate that addition. That's a good point for us to be thinking about. Okay, moving on to moving on to more local measures. As you both know, Sean answering first, and then Alan. Measure A is the strong mayor measure, something that's been on our ballot before. It's coming up again for the third time, I think. Voters will see the strong mayor proposal on their ballot. I think you disagree on this. First, what specific benefits and drawbacks do you believe the measure will have, and do you support it?
So, I think you look at Sacramento as a whole, it's a very fast-growing city today. So decisions have to be made immediately, and we should be able to hold individuals accountable for some of those decisions. So I am in favor of strong mayor simply because of our growth rate, and decisions have to be made right away rather than dragged on through bureaucracy through City Hall. This also would allow us to hold the decision makers accountable, and but at the same time mainstream the solutions to some major challenging issues like housing and homelessness that we've seen a massive growth within our cities. So I do support Measure A.
Thank you very much. And passing it over to Alan, of your feedback. Do you support Measure A? Why not?
Hi. No, I'm not a supporter of Measure A, and in fact, you will probably see my face on some of the mailers that are going out that say the same. And there are two primary reasons for me not supporting Measure A. One is because the community has not had ample time to really understand what's being proposed. This was a rush measure put on the ballot in a couple of weeks. People can't even come to the council chambers to question or challenge or even hold what's being said by the proponents of it accountable. And there's nothing in the measure that mandates what's being said. So there are essentially promises, which happen in campaigns all the time. People will say things, they'll promise things, and then once the election is over, they don't happen. There's the things that are being promised for Measure A are not memorialized in the ordinance. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is because it's tied to social equity in our city. And to me, that's very ingenuous. Social equity is very popular right now. People want to bring about social equity. They want to make sure that the disenfranchised have an opportunity, overwhelming majority. And to tie Measure A to social equity and suggest somehow that's the only way it can happen is false. Social equity can happen right now. We don't need Measure A. And just as an example, we did the biggest project in the city's history, basically, was a public-private partnership, and that was the Golden One Center. We didn't have Measure A to do that. And we did it in a way that was supported substantially by the majority of the city. And it has done a tremendous job in terms of the things that was said it was going to do, like bring jobs and taxes and create a place downtown that people want it to be, so that other investment can take place. So no, I am not a supporter of Measure A.
Thank you. You guys want to have a civil discussion about this and why we disagree, or should we just go ahead and move on to?
I just want to, if I may, just add a quick note to that. When previously, when Strong Mayor came, when Mayor Johnson was the mayor, my opponent was 100% in favor of Strong Mayor at that time. And the guidelines of that strong measure did not give the autonomy that this particular agreement has been produced, with 2/3 of the council being able to override the mayor. Today, our council has actually more power than the mayor. So if there is a big time company or manufacturing company that wants to come into our city, the mayor doesn't have that power to say, come on in, we'll get everything done for you. How many jobs you're going to provide? 1,000, that's fantastic. It has to go to the council, which, as you know, anytime anything goes to the council, it's 1 to 2 to 3 months ordeal before they can make a decision. As I said, Kevin Johnson, mayor, my opponent supported Strong Mayor. Today, when those guidelines have much more relaxed terms and gives more power to the council members to override this strong.
Did Sean freeze?
He froze. Alan,
I'm waiting to respond, but I want to wait until he unfreezes.
See if we get him back.
Sean, you're froze. Not sure if you can hear us.
Man, this is just gotta love the problems of 2020, huh? Alan, do you want to go ahead and respond?
Sure. This measure and the previous measure were different. This measure, I mean, I gave 2 examples, and whoever is really interested in seeing the differences, there is public information. But this, in addition to tying it to social equity, which to me is an insult, and then the fact that we have COVID and people have numerous problems right now, and for them to try to mobilize and understand a charter amendment to the city of Sacramento, it's very problematic. But the other thing is, this sets aside money from the general fund. This takes money right out of the general fund and sets it aside for the Strong Mayor purpose, which, you know, I don't know what that
Back, guys. Can you hear me?
So
Yep, we lost you there, Sean. I think we got most of what you were saying. So Alan was responding to why, you know, his stance on it has changed.
yeah.
But I appreciate.
Well, and again, just like before, I mean, the documents can prove the details, right? So you can pull up Strong Mayor before, you can pull up this ordinance, and you can look at the differences. So, and I've explained why I'm not supporting it. So, and that's consistent with what I've said at the city council meetings and in the campaign that's being run right now. So,
Thank you, Alan, for your response. The last local measure that we have to talk about before we get into some more D2 specific issues is Measure C, the formation of the Rental Housing Board. This is going to go to Alan first. Do you support Measure C? Why or why not?
you know, I think if it's an advisory committee, I would be fine with it. You know, I think there are community engagement portals, and I'm all for community engagement. I'm all for participatory government. I'm all for collaboration, you know, and so I think this would support the areas that I just mentioned. But again, I separate that from, you know, the proposition that's being proposed around rent control. So, you know, but I do believe we should understand what's taking place in our city. And as it relates to public finance projects, I think it's extremely important. Privately financed projects, a little bit different, right? Private capital should be, in my opinion, allowed to be able to go to where it thinks it is best received. However, I have no issue with this rent board, advisory board being established.
Got it. Thank you. Sean, 3 minutes. Do you support measures for the formation of a rental housing board? Why or why not?
Sure. So, you know, we do have the SHR RA currently. So I'm not very clear on this advisory board, how they're selected, what is their capacity, and what is going to be their involvement on different sectors of housing. So I'm not really knowing the detail of this. And when I read the measure, it doesn't spell it out clearly. Unfortunately, at this time, I am not for Measure C.
Got it. Thank you. So I'm going to jump
You
over.
know, let me, you know, and I hate to do.
I'll open up a 3-minute discussion, Alan, if you want to add to your answer.
Well, it's not that. We just had another issue in the district, and I'm being called away. And so what I want to try to do is take these next couple of questions if we can, but I got to go meet the media and some other people at another issue that just has taken place. And
Was there another shooting, Alan?
another unfortunate situation, yeah.
Where at?
How much more time do you think we
It's
have?
in the district. It's in the district, so.
How much more time do you think we have you for, Alan? Like,
Well, I mean, I'd like to try to get through the next two questions, you know, depending on how Sean and I can do it. But so.
I'm going to end the debate parts and just get your guys' answers so that voters can hear, you know, in as quick and succinct.
Sure. Okay, that's good.
So the next question is starting with Sean. Assisting our unhoused population is a massive challenge in the state of California, Sacramento, and right here in District 2. We see the homeless camps along Roseville Road and in our communities as well. We all know everyone needs to contribute to a state or citywide solution, but regardless of the state or citywide things that are happening, what is your specific individual plan to address homelessness here in District 2?
Sure. So I think what our city has done, it's been 100% unsuccessful and has used a lot of money of our taxpayers' money or money that comes from federal, and it's kind of been wasted away. A perfect example is the project on in downtown with Park Hotel, that by the time this project ends, and my opponent actually voted for that project, it's going to cost $70 million to have 134 units as a shelter. And it just, to me, doesn't make sense. SACB just provided an article that the idea of tiny homes and building, the cost is just so overwhelming that it still doesn't make sense. This is something that us as a city, we have to partner up with county and utilize some of their facilities and that are much more available and are not in residential areas. When you go within the county area, you have various motels that are more in commercialized areas. And right, especially with COVID-19, this is a perfect time that we can literally partner up with the county and utilize some of these sites to get some of the families off the street immediately. But we cannot walk away with the fact that majority of our homeless today have either there's drug addiction or they're mentally ill. And unless we can partner up with some local rehab centers and local hospitals that we can give these individuals the help that they need, this cycle will just continue and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So my suggestion, some of the things that we've seen in City of Modesto that's been very successful, Houston has done a great job that have been very successful, is really to try to get existing properties, existing buildings, and create these as shelters. So if you get X amount of motels where we can say, the addicts, once they complete their rehab, they can attend there where there's a 24-hour social work and security. Same thing with mentally ill, where there's 24-hour nursing, social security, social worker, and security. That's how can we move things around. But the number one issue that I have is with the families that are homeless with children. To me, that's a much easier fix. We can, again, partner up with the county, find multiple apartment complexes, and literally go in there and would say, we'll subsidize their first 6 months of rent, where now they can move in. They're not addicts, they're not mentally ill, they're just down on economic hardship. They can move in, apply for Medicare, Medi-Cal, and also federal subsidies. But more importantly, now they can actually apply for a job and have an address that they can put down on that job. The other two programs, as they complete those programs, they can be moved into this permanent housing where they can work and gain money and probably move on to something bigger and better. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Alan, same question to you, assisting our unhoused population.
Sure. Well, let me just say that, you know, the programs that have been tried have been multiple programs, have not worked virtually anywhere in the country, let alone Sacramento and the state of California. California is probably having one of the worst times dealing with the homeless population. Let me just say, I'm very pleased that the city of Sacramento will be trying something that I've been advocating for about 6 or 7 years, almost from the time I got on the council, and that is safe ground. I think that in order for us to really deal with the immediate problem, we have to have an immediate solution to getting people out of our neighborhoods and off of our traditional business corridors. And you can do that through a safe ground. That way you can triage people immediately. You can start bringing the medical resources. You can start bringing porta potties and showers so you don't allow the spread of things like COVID and other germs and things that are just common ground when people are forced to live, you know, on the streets. No place to use the restroom, no place to clean themselves, eating out of garbage cans. So safe ground, it is unfair to burden our residents with having people come through their garbage cans, coming across their yards, sleeping in the business doorways. And that's taking place because there is no other option right now, particularly during COVID. So there's also legislation that maybe my opponent knows, maybe he doesn't, but there's been cases that have been decided that allow certain things that, and they don't allow certain things, like the Boise decision out of Boise, Idaho is something you can Google, spread it out, and it deals with forcing people out of certain areas. When you see encampments, there are rules for how you can move them and how you can't. And in some circumstances, you cannot force people out of certain areas because, and this is a big issue, because there is no viable alternative. So Sacramento already has an anti-camping ordinance. But in order for us to enforce the anti-camping ordinance, we have to have alternative places for the people to go. And that's very important information a lot of people don't know. But I've been a leader on it. My colleagues on the council have recognized that, Sacramento Bee and others. Even the News and Review, who typically doesn't like me, even recognize that I'm a leader in that area as it relates to the city. And there's an item coming to come into Law and Ledge this month that will change the dynamic for how homelessness is dealt with in the city.
So
if I may just, I know Alan has to go, so I wanted to just make a few comments because I know he's in a rush and I fully understand that.
I'll open up 30-second. So if we can just try to make this quick to get through these.
I thought we were just going to answer the questions, man, and keep moving.
Well, I mean, the idea of safeguard, I think you need to add to the fact that you do not need
safe ground.
I'm sorry, you don't need to let the residents know about where the safe ground is going to be.
Of course.
That's
the whole process for
that's
that.
not acceptable. Yes. The law and legislative that you just also discussed, they have picked 1,519 location in District 2. That's individual parcels available from
it's all available properties citywide, and then they will be vetted down. Okay.
It's
let's move on, Zach. Let's move on
which
to the other
largest
question.
amount out of any other district.
You're talking about something you don't know. Okay. District 2 has the most undeveloped property in the city. District 2 has the most undeveloped property in the city. It's all undeveloped property in the city.
Here it is.
Okay, guys,
Zach, move on.
What are talking about?
Let's move on. Let's move on. That's a whole bunch of districts there, man. Move on.
No. Look at District 2. 15.
Just go.
19.
Let's go. There's 14 in District 4, 14 in District 6. That's where you start. There's a starting place and an ending place.
It's
Listen,
1,500.
it's a ridiculous,
But
comment you're
if
making.
you were in that meeting,
Zach,
you would
let's move
fought
on.
for it.
Zach,
That's
let's move on.
lack of
Follow up on this
representation
item.
again.
Sean, follow
Zach,
up on
let's
this
move
item. Share this after the fact with, voters that come to you.
Yeah, share it
This
with
is
your
from his
voters. Campaign on it.
I mean, if he attended the
Campaign on
meeting,
it.
he might know the facts.
Just
There's
campaign on it.
1,519 locations set for District 2.
Campaign on it. Campaign on it. Let's go on
You
to
guys
the
have
other
read
question.
rules
Let's
to be
go.
respectful to each other, and I would appreciate you abiding by that. There's a lot of people in the comments on this that are very accurately saying they're disappointed in like the whole way this is going, by me, by both of you, and the way you're acting towards each other.
Let's move on to the questions, Zach. Let's move on to the questions, okay?
Yeah, I agree.
Let's move on to the questions that he gets nervous about the answer.
I don't get nervous about anything.
Color of
Just
the sky.
campaign about it, Sean. Campaign about it,
That's
okay?
the color of the sky.
And
That's
tell the
what-
truth during your campaign.
Let's go.
Guys,
What do you want to talk about?
interrupt me. I'm trying to keep this moving and keep this respectful, okay? This is really challenging with both of you, okay? I'd appreciate you guys being a little empathetic with me here on how difficult this is.
I am absolutely empathetic, Zach.
For what's going to be, I'm sure, a very contentious issue that I'm not going to open debate up on, but you both will have your time to, tell your perspective on, and then campaign
Please.
on, is the cannabis industry in District 2. Sean
Thank you.
has been very critical of Alan's relationship into cannabis in District 2. The number
Thank
of
you.
dispensaries we have, the square footage of cultivation in District 2, something that's very public online. Alan, how do you feel that you've worked with cannabis groups well, and what is your strategy moving forward? And that's
Sure. There's public information. Every dispensary that's open right now was open prior to me being elected. They were already approved, and my predecessor was the gatekeeper that allowed cannabis into District 2. There's video footage, there's documented footage. We can send it over to you. Had nothing to do with me, okay? Nothing to do. And we're happy to send it over if you want it. However, I am not anti-cannabis. And it is very important to know. But I will tell you this, and it's also public information. You can look at who cannabis has supported, how much money they've given the candidates. Of all the council people and the mayor, I received the least. I think it's under $5,000, maybe. Under. Some candidates have received 60, 70,000. It's all public information. We don't have to debate it. It's public information. This is another example of misinformation that's been put out there. And so I have been an advocate for retail in retail areas. Cultivation should be in industrial areas. That was my position when we started. That's my position now. I do not want boarded and vacant marijuana cultivators in our retail corridor. It is unsightly, and it does not allow for the continued investment in District 2 for retail. And just as one other comment, when it was suggested somehow that I only do housing. No, I do retail too, and I probably am one of the largest property owners, in Northern California in different types of real estate. However, it is extremely important to recognize that cannabis has now become legal, and it needs to be opportunities across the board. There needs to be inclusion in cannabis as well. Jobs, having an opportunity to run and own a business, and I've been supportive of that. But District 2 has not been saturated under my watch. There have been a lot of illegal cannabis previous to me being in. The city knew about them, and they established a program so the ones that were cultivating illegally could get a license to become legal. The city's policy established that. And so that's what you see in District 2, but it's public information, and I'll send you the videos, Zach, so you can disseminate them, that shows how cannabis came to District 2, how many were there when I got in, and how many are there now.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate your answer. You hit 3 minutes on the dot. Sean, I'm going to open it up to you for your 3 minutes. How do you feel cannabis could have been handled better in District 2? And Alan, just to try to move us along here, I would appreciate it if you could let him, have his 3 minutes uninterrupted. Thank you so
So
much.
the only thing I can agree with Alan on this is that cannabis is legal. Everything else, unfortunately, I don't agree with him. Cannabis is legal, and the last 8 years, it seems like we've opened the floodgate for cannabis to come into our community. The biggest issue that we have is every community has reached out to his office, not as a one resident, as a two resident, but hundreds, saying that our community, we've capped it, we've tapped out. We do not want any more cannabis. And as an elected official, where your job is to represent the citizens or the residents of that community, it's your job to listen to them and say, if we don't need any more here, we shouldn't. Right now, the idea of cannabis was very exciting for the city of Sacramento about the tax revenue that it generates. Currently, about 60% of cannabis-related businesses, such as dispensary, cultivation, or edible, are in District 2. Where are those tax monies that are supposed to come to our district so we can support some of these infrastructures that are deteriorating in our district? What jobs has it been creating from our district? Why weren't individuals from our district, especially in areas that before it was legal, we have fathers, brothers, and sons that are incarcerated. Why weren't they given the chance to get involved? Now we have the core, we're gonna create 10 more licenses, we're gonna give to them. This industry, it's an all cash industry, plain and simple. They work with all cash. When they go anywhere, that's why they flaunt. And if my opponent wants to sit there and say, I didn't know about this, then he's in the wrong seat and he needs to move on. That's how they operate. Plain and simple. If District 2 has spoken and they say we want a cap on our cannabis business, then it's his job or the next person's job to reflect on their decision and say, if that's the residents, if that's what they want, that's what I'm going to support. However, my opponent thinks he knows the best and is continuously pushing on dispensaries to come in. I think 1625 Del Paso Boulevard was a perfect example. Residents spoke, but regardless, that still went to the planning department. In fact, the planning department, if you watch the tapes, 2 of their members made it very clear that they have talked to my opponent saying there is an oversaturation in your district, and yet he has ignored their comments. One, in fact, suggested maybe you need a new representative, because all we can do is make suggestions. If that's getting ignored, don't be mad at us. And again, that's tape, and you can view that also. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. I'd really, because of the direct call outs here, I'd like to give Alan 1 minute to respond to Sean and some of the accusations. And then I'd like to give Sean another minute to respond because I want to keep it fair between each of you. Do you guys agree to that, Alan?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think it's very clear that there's just misinformation. It's typical of a campaign. The records will speak for themselves. Zach, we'll send you the tapes and also the further records that we talked about, and you can disseminate them and let people decide. So I don't have anything else to say about it.
Thank you so much. I'm going to move on to our next topic for District 2, specifically economics. Creating new opportunities for businesses to open in District 2 is essential to the growth of our communities and for District 2 to thrive. Alan, how have you shown you are the best candidate to continue economic growth in District 2? And Sean, why do you believe you are more qualified to foster economic growth in District 2? What plans do you both have to spark new growth in the coming months?
Sure. Well, District 2 is the oldest part of it used to be one of the most prominent parts of the city of Sacramento. In fact, North Sacramento was its own city some, years ago, and it was a very prominent community. And then when you had things like integration, when people were learning how to live with one another across color and culture and all of those issues, you had what was called white flight. A lot of people who had businesses left and went out to suburbs. And it really left a huge void in Sacramento. and particularly in this part of Sacramento. And so this has been 50 years of, economic fleet. So when I campaigned on bringing grocery stores and housing into District 2, because those were the types of things I thought we needed to balance. And in retail, again, if anybody wants to challenge it, just Google it. Retail follows rooftops. The more homes you have, the more retail and services will come into an area. So we needed to create more housing. So immediately I went out to try to get grocery stores to locate in District 2 or to expand. And we've had some success at that. The Grocery Outlet, Super X, Viva, absolutely, as well as a new grocery store that's unnamed that hopefully we'll be announcing in a couple of weeks. But there's still more that we needed. We needed things like new medical facilities. Those things take time, and housing. So since I've been in office, there has been over 800 new homes and apartments built. And currently, right now, there's over 1,000 right now in District 2. Housing brings retail and investment. Retail will not go into places that cannot be supported within a close proximity of homes and people that live in a particular area. And so those were some of the foundational pieces that were needed, and that's what we've been working on. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer.
So I'm going to listen to Sean, Zach, and then I think I got to take off.
Can I get one more question in? Just kind of.
I'm gonna, depending on how long this takes. Yes. Okay.
Sean, I'm gonna open up your 3 minutes.
Sure. So on this, I commend Alan for being the top landowner and retail owner in state of California. So I want to congratulate.
That's not what I said.
Or Northern California, one of the top.
That's not what I said.
Well,
but anyway, go ahead. I won't interrupt again. Go ahead. I won't interrupt.
The fact of the matter is that retail hasn't come into our community because we lack certain necessities, right? We know that Alan is a developer. So whether we are in the seat of the city hall or not, developing is what he does. And District 2 was a prime location to develop because the price of land being low, being an opportune zone, that adds even more incentives for developers like Alan to come and develop. So the houses that he has built, whether he was a council member or not, those houses would have been built regardless. But when we look at retail now, again, when you go on Del Paso Boulevard, when my opponent has done a great job and acquiring so many wonderful buildings, which I give him total kudos on that, congratulations. But some of those buildings are still empty. We're 8 years into it, they're still boarded. And we haven't done anything to attract businesses to come and invest on that boulevard or other areas like Marysville Boulevard. You say that there's a grocery store in the works. I would think as a representative that you'd be extremely loud about that so you can get the community behind you to give even more assurance to that grocery operator that this is going to be a great investment, to make it even easier for them to make the decision. At least that's what I would do to make a retailer feel more comfortable to come and invest in an environment that statistically or data is not showing very promising numbers. Businesses have moved out. We have the highest unemployment rate today. You go on Del Paso Boulevard, it's a ghost town. You have a P-bid that's completely dysfunctional. You have a Marysville Boulevard that businesses are suffering. So again, as far as economic growth, I haven't seen anything. What I bring to the table is the business aspects of it. I know what it takes to run a business. I know what it takes to encourage individuals to come in and have my support 100% to make sure their businesses are successful. Simply because there is no way that I would do something that it would be considered as anything wrong or, arm's length distance or conflict of interest. As a business owner, I know the obstacles that one has to go through to create a business. As a developer, you know what it takes to build. You have absolutely no idea on how to run a business.
Thank you, Sean.
So based on that, that's what sets us different. A business-friendly individual that would open roads for small businesses to come and feel comfortable, and another individual that talks about
Thank you, Sean.
I'm bringing businesses where he has no experience on that.
I know that,
and his record shows that.
Your time is coming to an end here. I know that you have to wrap up, so I'm going to skip to our last question that we had prepared, which I'll use as your 5-minute kind of debrief from you guys. So in the same order as we started, Alan's going to give his 5 minutes first, and then Sean's going to get the final word, and then Kathy and I will sign off for everyone with some PSAs. But the question that I want you to answer in this 5-minute segment is about unity. And that is that at a time when our nation is extremely divided politically, why are you the best candidate to unify residents of District 2? And what do you believe residents of District 2 should be doing to contribute to that unity and battle divisiveness? And that's a 5-minute.
Very good. So I'm going to do it all inclusive, okay? 5 minutes. You can hold me to 5 minutes, though, Zach. So let me just say, currently on Del Paso Boulevard, there's over 100 houses being planned and proposed to come up. There's over 20,000 square feet of retail under construction right now. And so, even during COVID, we're making progress. And it's all public record. You can pull building permits. You can look at applications for housing. It's not a secret. Relative to the grocery store, you can't make an announcement until there's a deal. So we're still working through the aspects of the grocery store deal. Once it's done, the announcement will be made. Relative to the issues that are plaguing our country with division, political polarization, you got the whole Black Lives Matter issue and the inequitable treatment of minorities and people of color, seemingly by the law enforcement. You have a really cesspool of sensitivity right now where people are hypersensitive. One of the things that I've committed myself to do is to work on issues, period, across political lines, across racial and ethnic lines. If the police department does something good, I will call it out and support it. When they do something that is not good, in my opinion, then I'm going to speak out about it. Doesn't matter if Republican, Democrat, if somebody Black does something that's inappropriate, I'm going to speak out about it. So I don't play racial lines. I don't play Democrat or Republican lines. I think that's why this country is in the position that it's in right now, because people cannot vote for the right people and they cannot vote for the right issues. Because if you vote outside of your party line, then you get subjugated to the back of the line and then oftentimes pushed out on both sides of the political spectrum. And so I believe you got to call right, and you got to call wrong, across whatever, but also be open for somebody to change your mind. And so you have to be a good listener. I was raised with 7 sisters, so I was forced to be a good listener in my house. But I'm also very quick to call out BS when I hear it, and I have no issue with calling out BS too. And so, but in campaigns, in politics, people say what they think they need to say to generate interest and to be elected. I will close by saying, listen, you judge people by what they've done in their past. You can go back to where I've been in my life and you can see a trail of things. Not all good, but a lot of good, a lot of very powerful things that have happened in my life. And I'm sure you go back in my opponents, go back to Oakland, to West Oakland, talk to the people there, go back to Los Angeles, talk to the people there, talk to the people that, he's saying he's going to make an employee-owned company with now, go back and talk to the ones there. And I'm not saying he is or isn't. I'm just saying you can judge people, present and their future by looking back at their past. And so, I will say this, whomever wins the election, I'm committed to doing whatever I can to try to continue to make District 2 the best community it can be. If Sean wins, I will congratulate him. I will work and try to help him. And if I win, I hope he'll do the same, and that's just my position consistently across the board. So thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to have been able to do this. I know, Zach, you had asked me before if we could put something like this together, and this schedule worked out. Sean, thank you for agreeing to the time, because I know you wanted a different date, but thank you for that. Kathy, always thank you for, what you do in the community. And so, but I serve District 2 very proudly, and all the information is public. You can get it, who gets campaign money, how many dispensaries, all the stuff we talked about, it's all public. And Zach, if you were to put together a list of information you want and send it over, then we'll start getting it to you right away, okay? And you can disseminate it to people. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that, Alan. Thank you very much. And thank you for the perfect 5 minutes. On the dot. Same question to you, Sean, talking about unity. At a time when our nation is extremely divided politically, why are you the best candidate to unify residents of District 2? What do you believe the residents of District 2 should be doing to contribute to that unity? Battle
so one thing I'm very proud is, well, let me back up. I think in the last probably 4 to 5 years, our district has never been this divided. District 2 is comprised of different communities: Hagenwood, Del Paso Heights, Robla, Woodlake. And I'm very proud to say that whether because of my campaign or whether there's a movement, for the first time in the last 2 months or so, all of these associations which represent these communities have come together. They've had meetings. They have started having a dialogue, which has been completely missing from my opponent's agenda for the last 4 to 5 years. And I think he would agree to that, because he's never—
I would not agree to that, but well, you can speak for you, don't speak for me, okay?
Let me finish, and then you can say. And the reason I say he could agree to that is simply he's been absent at every association meeting. And I understand that he cannot make every single one of them, but he has not done anything to bring the community together. So I'm very proud to say that my campaign, we made that as a priority, that we got to work as one team, as one community. Hence the 1625 dispensary that was supposed to go on Del Paso Boulevard. You had Woodlake calling, complaining. You had Del Paso Heights calling, complaining. You had Robla calling and complaining. So for the first time, these communities united. And hopefully, I'm going to continue with what Alan just said, whoever gets elected, hopefully this unity will continue. But to get it continued, they need to see their elected representative, and they have to make sure that the elected representative is listening to them. As far as questioning my employees' ownership, I completely agree with you, Alan. The reason this decision has come up is because once I get elected, I want to make sure there's absolutely no conflict of interest between my public office and my businesses. Something that does not exist today, that there is not that arm's length between some of the activities that you're involved with, which are your personal businesses, and also, sorry?
Go ahead.
And as far as the 20,000 feet of retail that's coming up, I'm assuming you're referring to the Grand Theater as being one of them, which has stopped right now because of illegal work that was done. The grocery deal, I completely agree with you. You know that if it's not a deal, again, as a business person, I would think if the community engages those people and show them how much they're going to support it so they'd be successful, it will make your job easier to get them signed that dotted document. At least that's what happened to me when I got the Norwood store. Because once Sandy Sheedy created a community setting and I noticed how much support we were getting, that's when I signed on the dotted line. So, I think we have different aspects, but as far as unity goes, my campaign forget the election right now, whatever has taken place in the last 2 months, it's really brought in the associations together. And who are these associations? They're representing the residents within their own community. So who better to have meetings with and talk with the association's presidents or representative to see exactly what the residents want. So if we're going to turn I haven't seen my card yet.
1 minute left.
So if the residents don't want another 63,000 square feet of cannabis cultivation in their community, it's good for you to hear about it. And if they win and they reject it and the planning department rejects it, if you're in touch with those residents, then you wouldn't go and call that up during COVID and vote on it as a yes from your colleagues that are sitting right next to you. So this is what we mean about unity. A representative that goes out of its way to bring everybody together and make decisions that say, I know what the community needs, hence I'll make the decision for them. Hasn't shown me the red card yet. But at the end of the day, as he said, regardless of who wins, and if I win, I hope that I will get support of Alan on making our district good. And if he wins, I guarantee him, and I will make a commitment today, that I will do anything in my power to support him to better our community. That's something that I'm glad we agree on.
Thank you both so much for your time today.
No quick retort. Is it over?
You can't have it. You asked for 5 minutes, we got 5 minutes.
So if you missed the beginning of this meeting, I know we had some trouble getting people onto this call. I just want to recap that Kathy and my name's Zach Trowbridge. Kathy Anutzik is my president. We volunteer for the Hagenwood Community Association. So if you live in District 2, we encourage you to reach out to your local community associations by going to the City of Sacramento website, looking at their map and seeing, what local community association you have. Kathy and I both have full-time jobs outside of this. We do this volunteering on the side just to help you residents, get a better, more clear channel of communication from the city and from representatives of the city. So just as a shout out to everyone in the comments who is critiquing us, we encourage you so much to come do a better job than us, right? As we all do as volunteers, please come help us. We're just people doing our best.
You did a fine job, Zach. You did a fine job.
Thank you, Sean and Alan. I really appreciate you both making the time for this. The day before ballots get mailed out. I think they go out tomorrow. So thank you both so much for, pausing from your campaign to be part of this. Thank you to all of our viewers on Facebook Live and on YouTube for, tuning in and seeing what's going on in our local community. I just want to remind everyone that ballots are being mailed out tomorrow, I believe, the 5th. Every registered voter is receiving a ballot by mail. You can actually vote in person up to 29 days before the election by visiting the elections office at 7065th Street in Suite A. D2 has 5 voting locations at the Greater Sacramento Urban League, Del Paso Heights Library, Robertson's Community Center, Johnson Community Center, and North Sacramento Hagenwood Library. So you can visit any of those. Some of them are open a week before, some of them are open the day of. So definitely visit those to be able to drop off your ballot in person, or if you prefer to vote in person, do that. You can register online to vote up to, I think, like the day of voting at registertovote.ca.gov. You can check your voter status online at voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. And for more information about either of these campaigns, make sure to like, or both of them really, make sure to like both of their Facebook pages, Alan Warren 2020 and Sean Loloee 2020, to see, to get some of this follow-up about these things that we're asking for evidence on, that, that people commenting are asking for more information on. So make sure and follow them on social media to get in the loop of what's actually happening, and then visit their websites to sign up for their newsletters, which are alanwarren2020.com and seanloloee.com. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We also We also want to make sure that you know that the video from this will be available. So if you run a neighborhood association or an organization within District 2, we can make that available to you. And thank you so much to Zach for all of his energy and enthusiasm and technical abilities to do this for us. So we are super.
Good job, Zach.
Thank you,
Zach,
Kathy.
Zach, thank you